Hello everyone, Ladislas Maurice from thewanderinginvestor.com. So today we're in Asuncion in the capital of Paraguay, and we're going to be looking at a typical real estate investment here. And we're going to go through all of the numbers in terms of how much we can rent out that apartment for, all the costs involved in being a landlord, etc., to reach a net rental yield or a net capitalization rate so that you have a better idea of what the average investment returns are here in this market. Okay, so we're not going to be looking at a fantastic investment, the best investment, etc., but just what you can expect when you go on the market and you buy something decent and reasonable at market prices. So right now I'm in Los Laureles. It's a very decent neighborhood in Asuncion, very close to the prime areas of Villa Mora and Recoleta. It's a new building that was finished about a year ago, and it's got really nice amenities. So here you can see it's got a nice rooftop pool. You know, the water's clean, everything's well maintained. Alexander is with us. So Alexander is my buyer's agent here. He helps people find investments in Asuncion. And then you can see like the whole area. So very green, a lot of houses, not too many buildings. There's also a bunch of parking downstairs. There's 24 security, which people like in this part of the world. And then you can see kind of the skyline of Asuncion here. So very peaceful neighborhood, very calm, pleasant. I mean, the rooftop is cool. It is here a culture where people have a lot of guests and they entertain and all of that, so it's important to have like such amenities. People really value these. So, you know, I've got the whole barbecue area, which is huge. I mean, I don't need to say that in this part of the world people adore meat. There's even some like kitchen here. So we'll go into the apartment in a bit. We'll go down there. It's on the 5th floor. Cool. And then there's the other part of the terrace. So really big terrace, and as you can see, everywhere green. I mean, Asuncion has a terrible reputation. People think Paraguay is not nice, blah blah. Like, this is the city. It's totally green. Everything's green. It's very pleasant. Very pleasant city. Now, is it a good investment? No, that's a different story. So we're gonna go there. We're gonna do all the numbers. Cool. Great. So Alexander, can you give us a few metrics here?
It's 18 square meters. It costs $140,000.
Okay. And it's a 2-bedroom, right?
Yeah, 2-bedroom.
Okay. So, and it comes with the kitchen, it comes with the aircon, it comes with all of that. Okay, cool. So it's nice and bright. Again, the goal here is not to do some property tour. The goal is just to go through the apartment really quickly to see what we get for this sort of money. And then Alexander and I will sit down and do the numbers, the costs, and the net rental yields. So, I mean, it's nice. You know, bathroom, number 1. Cool.
Yeah. Second bedroom, the bigger one. And
okay, master bedroom. Okay, cool. All right, with like the wardrobes are built in. Cool. And this. All right, so look, the finishings are quite good, I have to say, for an apartment. I'm used to finishings in a lot of these countries that are not that good. So pleasantly surprised. Cool, so fantastic. So we'll go back upstairs, we'll discuss all the numbers. It was finished how long ago?
1 year.
1 year ago, and it's still for sale by the developer. So we'll have to have a serious discussion about liquidity in this market, because this is one of the key points. Cool, thank you very much, Alexander.
You're welcome.
So let's say if I were to buy this apartment at this price without negotiating, which obviously people should do, and then I hand over the apartment to you, right? Mm-hmm. And because you do property management here as well, your task is to help me sweat this asset and try to make as much rental yield as possible. What would be your recommendation in terms of approach for this market with such an apartment?
With this price, I think I will focus on foreigners, to rent this apartment to foreigners, because usually You have problem here with locals that they don't want to rent to foreigner or to someone who doesn't have local tax residency. And if you don't show them an income about the last 6 or 12 months from Paraguay, they will not rent you the house or the apartment.
So local income.
Yeah, local income. They don't care if you have contract abroad or you have an income abroad. They want just a local tax declaration.
So they're like the Paraguayan tax authorities that don't care about your income overseas.
Yeah.
People only care about the income in Paraguay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So for that reason, people have problems with that. And the other thing is that they want you guarantors. So, and the guarantor should have the double of income than the price for the renting. So if you are renting something like for $1,000, you need a guarantor who is earning $2,000 minimum dollars.
In Paraguay.
In Paraguay, it's like it's ridiculous. So if you rent this apartment and you don't ask foreigners these requirements, you will have like a higher rate of occupancy of the apartment because you are making it very easy to the foreigner. You will publish in Instagram, in Facebook, typical here. You will use Marketplace, some local pages like Classipar, Infocasas. And if you publish that, usually foreigners will try to check through those pages. So if you do well with that thing and you don't ask them many requirements, you have a guaranteed high rent.
So, and why not Airbnb?
Because like the country is not a touristic zone, not many people come here to make some business trip or whatever. So for that reason, in this area, especially Los Laureles, you don't have people who for tourism are renting for several days. So basically, many apartments here are empty if you check Airbnb. Usually people on Airbnb who are focusing on Airbnb, they are more closer to the malls and to the airport.
Yeah. Look, and to be fair, you don't really come, to your point, to Asuncion for tourism. There's objectively nothing to see here. It's a very pleasant city, the city you want to live in, but you don't want to just come as a tourist for like 3-4 days. And also, there's not that much business tourism either. It's not a business hub. All the regional headquarters are either in Brazil, in Argentina, or in Uruguay. There aren't really any regional headquarters in Paraguay. So not a lot of business trips and not a lot of tourism, but you do have a lot of foreigners who come here to obtain residency and live here for at least a few months every year. And these people are not really being catered to, essentially, because there just aren't that many people either. They're moving here, though it's increasing, but local landlords make it complicated. So essentially, make it easy, and you'll be able to rent it out easily. Okay, cool. How much would be the furniture budget, roughly?
I think around $9,000, $10,000.
Okay, cool.
Depending what kind of quality of the TV or fridge you want to put there.
Cool. All right, 10,000. So what would be the monthly rent? So I furnish it, I buy it, I furnish it. I give you a budget of 10,000. You go, you furnish it, you run with that. How much rental income could I get?
Around $800 per month.
Okay. And what do you think my occupancy rate would be?
It should have to be around 19%.
90%? Okay, sounds fair. So it'd be rented out a bit less than 11 months per year, which is fair for an apartment like this in a decent location, brand new, all the amenities, decent price. Cool. What is typically the management fee? Like as the landlord, what do I have to pay in terms of management? So do I have to pay so that you find tenants? Do I pay for your management? How does it work here, typically in the market?
The owner of the apartment pays around 10% if he wants me to manage his properties. The one who is seeking for the rent, he pays half of the month rent.
Okay, so let's say I'm the owner, you bring a prospective tenant that you found online or through the network with other agents, etc. The tenant has to pay roughly 2 weeks of rent to you. But I don't have to pay anything for finding tenants, essentially.
No.
Clear. Okay, that helps with the numbers. What about the homeowners association here on a monthly basis? Because I'm assuming it's the landlord that needs to pay for this?
Yeah. So it's around $84 per month.
Okay, so a bit over $1 per square meter, roughly. All right, what about utilities? Who pays what?
Water usually pays the landlord.
How much would that be?
It's so cheap, and $10 per month.
Okay.
So, and the one who is renting, he pays for the electricity bill. It's around $50 per month, depending on how much you are using your air conditioning and all that thing. So the property tax will be like $300 per year.
Okay, so not a train smash.
Yeah.
And in terms of a maintenance budget, if there are issues, there's a water leak and you need to send the plumber, you need to do all that, how much would you put in these numbers per year, roughly?
I think it will be $400-500 per year.
Cool. I mean, labor is extremely affordable here in Paraguay. The minimum wage is how much per month?
$350.
Okay, cool. So, you can get a lot done with not much money, essentially. Cool. So essentially, once we actually go through everything, we end up with a net rental yield or a capitalization rate of a bit over 3%. Again, this is before negotiating. I would definitely go and negotiate before buying something like this. Look, it's not a great number. It's objectively not appealing. If you want to be a yield investor, there are other markets that are more interesting than Paraguay. But we'll go into why people could potentially be interested in investing here. But before we do this, so this building has been completed 1 year ago, and there's still roughly 4 or 5 units that are for sale.
Yeah,
and it's not like they're random units without windows or ground floor or something. The apartment we saw was nice. So why does it take that long for the developer to sell?
The price is pretty high for the local people. So Paraguay still is developing. Paraguay in the last 10 years, it was improving very well, but still there are not so many people who have that amount of money to buy for $140,000. It's expensive. So for that reason, I think the majority of people who buy here, this kind of apartment are foreigners, like Argentinians, Brazilians, Chile, maybe in other countries, and middle class or rich people from Paraguay.
Cool. And I think this is very important for people to understand. When they enter the market here in Paraguay, it is very illiquid. So a brand new apartment like here, nice area, nice building, good amenities. It's not like the price is too much. It's the market price, but just the market is super slow. So if you were to buy this, even just selling it would be very complicated, even though it looks like something that everyone would want and that's not too expensive, etc. But for the local market, it's a lot of money, just in aggregate. So very low liquidity. So when you make a real estate investment here in Paraguay, it can take definitely months, potentially years to sell. So looking at this investment, the price per square meter is not atrociously high. It's $1,750 per square meter. In square foot, it's about $160 per square foot. So who is actually buying these apartments and why? Because yield is not the reason.
No, at least this building. They say that many young Paraguayans bought this apartment. For me, it's impressive. I don't know from where they got that amount of money, even if you take that they are young Paraguayans. But usually in the capital of Asuncion, usually Argentinians are buying apartments, or Brazilians or other countries where they have economic problems, the government with high taxes and all that stuff. So many Argentinians try to save their money. So they came to Asuncion and they're buying many apartments. Like from every building that when I was asking who are buying these apartments, it's always Argentinians, like they say. Even in the newspaper, I know if it's an official statistic because they're not such thing. So there is a private statistic of some companies, and in one newspaper they said that 7 of 10 sold apartments were bought by Argentinians.
Interesting. And I think this is something that people really need to understand when they come here, because this is very insightful. This is a safe haven market. Okay, so I know that Paraguay is, in most people's minds, is this like little country in the middle of nowhere, far away from everywhere. But actually, regionally, Paraguay is perceived to be a safe haven, which objectively it is. It's surrounded by countries that are all extremely high tax with very socialistic governments. So whether it be Brazil, Argentina, or Bolivia, they're horrible places to do business. It's complicated, extremely high taxes, and some level of political instability, to say the least, in all of these countries. So Paraguay is actually seen as safe. And whenever you enter a market that is perceived to be safe, especially in a region where there is not a lot of safety or perceived safety, prices invariably get inflated versus the local incomes, because foreigners who come and purchase here, they're not looking to make yield, they're just looking for safety. So for them, having money here is essentially like having a bar of gold somewhere, and it's just stashed away here in Asuncion. So when you come and invest here and you're trying to make good rental yield, it's hard because you have these other buyers that are not thinking the same way. So they just essentially inflate prices. Now, does it mean that prices are going to go down? No, because it's wealthy people stashing money away. They don't need to sell. This is their really extra savings that they put overseas. There's not that much of a mortgage market here either. So prices are unlikely to go down much at all, unless there were a political crisis or something. But they're also not likely to just suddenly boom. So it's just, whatever you put in, you'll probably get out. Prices will gradually increase over time. I mean, the country has very good demographics as well. It's one of the few countries where the population is really increasing and fast. So, but there are a few catalysts in the sense that could the situation get worse in Brazil? Potentially. We're seeing more and more political instability in Brazil. People hate each other increasingly. So that could lead to issues. Argentina is a perpetual mess. So as long as these two countries continue having issues, and they probably will, and Paraguay does not change its business friendliness and its friendliness to foreign capital, then it will continue to be perceived as safety. So just like Panama is Central America's and Colombia's and Venezuela's safe haven, here this is Brazil's and Argentina's safe haven, with a potential tailwind being an increasing amount of immigration coming here. So I think, because you help people obtain residency here in Paraguay, and you've seen a lot of people moving here and obtaining residency here. Can you speak a little bit about this? Because these are the tenants essentially. Because you do immigration, so you also find the tenants usually.
Especially after the lockdown. There were many waves of people from different parts of the country. The lockdown in Europe and United States and other countries make obligated to people to find other places to live where they can be safe.
Cool. So most immigrants right now coming to Paraguay, the ones with money that could afford something like this, where do they come from? like these days?
Usually Germans, because I think it was like not a tradition, but usually there were many Germans in Paraguay already in the last century. So I think Germans know about Paraguay because people talk about Paraguay. Many people have friends there. So for that reason, Germans was the first big community here. And during the lockdown, we had like a massive amount of Germans coming to Paraguay. Then the second will be like other countries from Europe, France, Canada, and United States too. So Canada, United States, France, Ukrainian, Russians, and like many people around the world, even in Asia, from Asia, but for them it's more difficult to get the residence. So not a lot of them are in Paraguay, but they want to go here.
So it's mostly Europeans more than
mostly.
North Americans, right?
Yeah, because usually with them, Paraguay has this merchant relationship. So many Europeans can easily came to Paraguay to apply for the residency. After, for example, the problems that South Africa had during the protest in the last year, or it was 2 years ago, I don't remember, when malls were burned, all that stuff.
In Durban, yeah.
Yeah, and I saw in immigration some farmers from South Africa. And you see from their look how they talk in English that they are from there. So South Africans, people from there.
Cool. Usually. So essentially, the thesis again is if you think we are going into a world of issues and problems and where mostly people from Europe will look for some place to immigrate to, Paraguay will be a big beneficiary of this immigration. So this is a potential positive, a potential catalyst for your investments here. But it's nothing that's really truly immediate, but it's just something that'll essentially guarantee a steady stream of people coming into the country and renting out nice apartments like this. And talking about the Germans, when I was driving around the country, we went to a little German majority town called Hohenau.
No.
And we're staying in some Airbnb there, and it was a Russian lady that owned the Airbnb. And when we arrived there, she asked us if we spoke English, Spanish, or German. So, and then she was saying that her kids were actually learning German and Spanish in that town. So it's quite interesting. There really are these little towns with like these Germans everywhere.
They have their own German schools. So like some colonies that are very isolated and very like they don't want to, like they have only their community and they're living only within that community. They have their own church, their own German schools and all that thing, and people like they are creating like their little Germany within the Paraguay.
So real estate here could be a way of shorting Germany. Cool. Okay, fantastic. Great. So I think this gives an interesting overview. I also wrote an article and Alexander helped me with some of the research in terms of where to invest in Asuncion, which neighborhoods, etc. So there's a link below. You can read that whole article. And if you want to get in touch with Alexander, so Alexander offers some buyer's agent services to help people here make investments in the capital city. And I think what's interesting about this, about your service is that it's not like a typical real estate agency. You don't just look online or call the other agents. Like if a buyer is serious and is pretty clear in terms of what he wants.
Yeah, we will go offline and to search for those lands, especially if it's a big land. Usually the landlord doesn't publish he's selling on internet or other places. He usually is or by contacts or by a real estate agent or just offline are putting their
sell signs.
Yeah, sell sign.
And same thing for, if not just for agricultural land, but let's say I want to buy a house or something here in the capital city.
If you take the capital, people here are more into technology, so usually they put their sign on internet and all that thing, but there are still people who doesn't use those things, so you had to go to those places and to search for the optimal land that you want or optimal house that you like.
Cool. So essentially driving around and calling.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, fantastic. Great. Alexander, thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Make sure to download my free ebook, 12 Mistakes to Avoid When Investing in International Real Estate, which you can find on my website, link below, and feel free to follow me on Instagram @TheWandering Investor. I look forward to hearing from you.